I forgot to push the button. Where is it?
Yes, you did. And welcome, Pewter Peeps, into this week's episode of the Pewtercast on Wednesday, presented by BetUS, your number one spot for the Bucs news, notes, hot takes, and whatnot. I'm Steve Carney. That is Ren Dax. Hey, Ren, how are you today?
I've never been better my whole entire life, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm good. It was good to see you last night.
It was.
Just a quick aside. Ren and I went out and had a beer after the Rays game last night. That was a lot of fun.
It was. I talked about many things.
Yes, absolutely. So, but we'll get into probably some of those coming up later on this week because we do have some stuff to get to here. On Wednesdays, we usually bring in somebody from the other side as we take a look across the field. Against the Bucs this week, it is the Los Angeles Rams, the new look LA Rams in some cases, but we have an old friend that is joining us this week, and that is my good friend JB Long, who I've known way too long, longer than he would care to admit. But JB, how are you, my friend?
I love Bucs Week. It's a good excuse to catch up with you, Steve. I'm doing really well. Thank you for the invitation.
I really do appreciate you getting up early out in Los Angeles to come do this with us. Before we get into the line of questioning that I know that we're going to go to, and I know we're going to talk a lot about a certain position on the offense that the Rams look different in this year, I do have to get one thing out of the way. JB always looks so good. He's a handsome man, and it probably
looks
a lot
like
of that
he just jumped out of the pool.
He did jump. I'm sure he did just jump out of the pool.
Got the backs under my eyes or my goggle imprints that I've yet to shake off.
Did his 80 laps before the sun came up.
That's right. And if he wanted to, he could use the new lawnmower version 4.0 from Manscaped in the pool. So that's new from Manscaped, the all new lawnmower version 4.0 with wireless charging, longer battery. I believe it is IP6X waterproof, and just a badass piece of equipment that you can use to help make yourself feel better in the grooming area. And you can get it for a discount thanks to the Pewtercast. Go to manscaped.com and use the promo code FAN. You get 20% off and free shipping on your order. Again, that is through the folks at Manscaped. Again, manscaped.com, promo code FANSIDED20. You get 20% off your first order with to where you are from where you were.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily born into this, but sometimes it does feel that way, and the stars aligned in such a way that certainly there was some divine intervention. I enjoyed my time in Tampa Bay very much. Good getting to know you, Steve. I missed the days at Tropicana Field, speaking of your post-game fermented beverage. Some of my professional highlights working with the likes of Joe Madden and Evan Longoria and David Price and some of the great teams that they had there in the early 2010s. I think I got into the business because I was, one, running away from my finance career, and two, hoping to call games for a living and just trying to be as close to the action as I could, having exhausted what limited athleticism I had way back when. And I feel very fortunate to be back in my home state of California. I was born in Southern California. The NFL Rams experience has been nothing short of incredible. And SoFi Stadium is just the latest iteration, and Matthew Stafford's Rams this edition really exciting. So I hope for many more years. This is year 6, and I would love to make it 60, God willing.
Well, thanks for the throwing me the softball out there. The first question, it's going to be about Matthew Stafford, obviously.
Of course.
What was the reason? What was the reason that the fans were given the move on from Jared Goff? Why did they bring Matthew Stafford in? What were the upsides? And in this very short but undefeated season so far, has Matthew Stafford shown and or delivered on what was promised from bringing him in?
Sure. We could do an hour or 2 or 3 on this very topic, so I'll try and give you the Cliff's Notes version.
Thank you.
And I still struggle with answering this question because of how good Jared Goff was on and off the field as a Ram. There was a time where I had hoped to call every snap of his career. I think very highly of him as a person, as a player. I wish him well in Detroit. But if you look at Monday Night Football against the Packers, in some ways you could try and force that as a microcosm for the Jared Goff experience in the NFL so far. At times he looks unbeatable and can make all the throws. And then at times he makes the costly mistakes that seem to stand between a team winning a game or winning a championship. And it seems somewhat paradoxical to say, since he did win that 2018 NFC Championship and he got them to the Super Bowl. But from that juncture forward, his progression never seemed to take that next step. And I think it came to a head to where, look, you have Aaron Donald as an all-world defender now in his age 30 season. You have Jaylen Ramsey as a first-team all-pro shutdown corner. How many more prime years do you have where you might conceivably have the best or one of the best defenses in professional football and 2 transcendent talents, and how do you maximize that window of opportunity? And what presented itself, nothing to do with the Rams, but more to do with Stafford's relationship with Detroit and the coaching and front office change they were going through, as he wanted to make himself available for another chapter in his career. And when that opportunity presented itself to upgrade at the most important position in sports, the Rams were, I think, understandably very aggressive in pursuing that. And fortunately, it worked out for both sides, and there was mutual interest there. I've said this many different ways, but I think the Rams could have continued to win and been very competitive with Jared Goff. But I think in the modern construct, to be able to win in and outside of the pocket, on and off schedule, take better care of the football, we're not talking about like this vast chasm between Jared's ability and Matthew's. We're talking about maybe the difference between punching in a touchdown drive versus settling for a field goal, or getting across midfield and into field goal range to steal an extra 3 points before the half or at the end of a game. Like, these are very small differences, but over the course of now a 17-game season, that's the razor thin margin that we play on in the National Football League.
Well
Yeah,
said.
I thought the story of Cabo San Lucas and everything that went down there was one of the most interesting stories about acquiring a quarterback that I've heard in a while. I think it's even stranger that and more, I guess, fate, you would think. I mean, how ironic is it that Matthew Stafford and his family are vacationing in Cabo San Lucas, and Sean McVay just happens to be there as well, and for things to drop in your lap like that, you have to. I'm sure McVay's just kind of looking up at the skies and going, "Really, this is great." So, yeah. But it's maybe the craziest story outside of dumping Jameis Winston for Tom Brady. That's a pretty good upgrade as well. I want to ask you about a different move that was made right at the end of camp, though, picking up Sony Michel. And especially getting pressed into duty last week against Indianapolis. Jarrell Henderson leaves with the rib injury, and Michel has to take most of the second half as the starting running back. Give us an update on Henderson's injury and how you thought Michel handled things in that second half against Indy.
Yeah, I think Darrell will mostly have the week off from practice. He'll do his work on the side. And come Friday, it'll be a pain tolerance situation. He has a cartilage injury in his ribs.
Ow.
And whether that prevents him from running into the teeth of Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, I don't know. But Sony Michel, it was interesting. When they acquired him from the Patriots, both Sean McVay and general manager Les Snead made the comment that he's been in big-time moments. And I kind of locked in on that because that's not necessarily something you hear coaches and front office members attribute to running backs very often, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they've got the snap in their hand and they're making the 2-minute drill decisions. But there was a sense of his poise, his understanding of what it takes to succeed in those moments. And it's not lost on me that when he gets his first taste as a Ram, it's on the road, Lucas Oil Stadium, the game is on the line. It's kind of not a sudden change situation in terms of a turnover, but because of an injury, it's, hey, can you take us down the field and get us in game-winning field goal range? And he did. And it wasn't just with physical runs, finishing downhill, falling the length of his body to take an extra 2 yards on each carry. It was also being willing to put his face in there and pick up pressure and give Matthew Stafford the platform he needed to deliver some big-time throws. So it was very interesting to see that come to fruition, almost prescient, the move that they made and the way they described Michel's ability. And now, if he does have to be the lead back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't think he'll flinch.
You talked about earlier the defense, how you said, they're arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL. You probably have 2 Hall of Fame players, one at corner or safety or whatever you want to call what Ramsey plays,
right,
and then interior defensive lineman Aaron Donald. What's the strength of this? Let's start very basic, because this is basically an education pod for Buccaneers fans about what's coming down the road here on Sunday. Where's the strength of the defense? Is it the front 7? Is it the back end? Or are they just sort of a really just good unit the way a professional defense is supposed to be? Like, the coverage helps the pass rush, but also the pass rush helps the coverage. Where are the Rams? Where is it right now?
That's an insightful question, and I think the latter part is where the truth sits, which is current NFL defense is about disrupting the passer and making it difficult to find explosive plays through the passing game. You win with explosive plays, and you win with pass efficiency. The cliche of establish the run and stop the run, that to me is now an alarm bell. It's a red flag for someone who's either being disingenuous or isn't paying attention to how the current construct of the game is. And look at the Bucs and the Rams offensively for evidence of just how much that plays into this 2021 season and where we've been now for quite a while. So last year's defense in particular, which allowed the fewest points and the fewest explosive plays, arranged itself mostly in 2 high safety looks. And there was a lot of post-snap adjustment and pivots that they could make off of that. But it was with, to use rough terms, it was with the idea of putting an umbrella behind some really explosive offenses in the NFC and especially in the NFC West, and testing the opposing coordinator and a quarterback. How patient and efficient can you be? Are you willing to string together and able to string together 8, 10, 12 play drives to, 1, get points, and 2, keep our offense off the field? And I think the best example of a team being able to do that was in the divisional round when the Rams lost to Aaron Rodgers and the Buccaneers. Now, they were the best offense in football last year. He was the MVP. But the way they went about it was surgical. It was methodical. It was take your short game, take your running game, move the chains, and then when you do have a window of opportunity to hit an explosive, you got to deliver, and no one's better at that, I don't think, than Aaron Rodgers. So if you look at them statistically, are they a great run defense? No, not last year, although they were fine, not so far this year. But when you have Aaron Donald lined up in your A or B or C gap, there's a timer on you from the moment you take that snap.
Right.
And the coverage unit, and it's not just Jaylen Ramsey. Darius Williams was a top 10 corner last year as well. They got some great safety play from John Johnson, who's now with Cleveland. What a world to be playing defensive back in, where you know that double moves are almost completely eliminated because by the time that double move happens, the opposing quarterback has number 99 laying on top of him.
Right.
You mentioned Aaron Donald there a couple of times. Every offense is going to circle him in their film study this. I know the Bucs will harp on it big time. You have to know where number 99 is when you break the huddle, and you have to know how you're going to have to adjust your coverage because of Aaron Donald. But who has been getting the I guess reaping the benefit the most of playing beside number 99 this year?
Yeah. Well, first, let me throw this one at you. You may already be aware of it, or your audience might be, but the only quarterback that Donald has played multiple times in his career and yet to sack is TB12.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that speaks to his mastery of the game and understanding the very elements you just described, Steve. But the answer to your second question is everyone, but especially the pass rushers that he's played with recently. Dante Fowler Jr. came over from Jacksonville in a trade and had really a year and a half, but let's call it 2 great seasons benefiting from the Aaron Donald effect.
Mm-hmm.
Last year it was Leonard Floyd. It was not a first round bust with Chicago, but maybe didn't live up to his draft positioning. Came to LA, had a career season benefiting from the Aaron Donald effect. Michael Brockers for many years on the interior of the defensive line. Now Sebastian Joseph Day and others. Look, if you're playing on the interior or on the edge and Aaron Donald is in your formation, you're getting a one-on-one, period. You're getting a one-on-one. Those are very favorable circumstances, and just about everyone has thrived. And I won't go through the rest of the list, the roster, but think about that next level. Think about playing linebacker behind that defensive front. Not many offensive linemen are climbing to you. You've got a lot of alleys to run to the ball, sideline to sideline. So he wins in so many ways, but that's just a few of them.
Sticking with the defensive side of the ball, and I promised someone on Twitter I'd ask this because of the fantasy element to it. Is Jaylen Ramsey, in your opinion, is he going to follow Mike Evans around? Now, before I say this, I should let you know that Antonio Brown was just put on the COVID-19 list, but he is vaccinated, so he needs 2 negatives before he can come back. So that's a possibility he might not be available for Sunday. But is Ramsey going to follow Mike Evans around? Is that kind of what he's been doing? Did he do it in the past? Like, if your best guess, how are the Rams going to implement Ramsey against this offense?
Well, you know what the first thought that pops into my mind is they are so different with the way that Gronkowski is playing right now compared to the offense that the Rams faced. Look, there were a lot of factors. He was one of them, but this is different this year. Like what he's doing right now and the way that he's playing, and given Ramsey's versatility and the different ways they can deploy him, I'm not sure that the priorities, what was it before the bye last year, before Tampa Bay really hit their stride, and this year are going to be the same. And it's not because of the way Tampa Bay is playing. It's also the new defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, who, of course, has some great roots in Tampa Bay as well. Brown probably factors into that, I would think. Jaylen doesn't necessarily have to travel, although with certain teams, like when they play the Cardinals and DeAndre Hopkins, it makes sense for him to do that when you do have such a clear number one. I just think the potential that Brady has to pick you apart with 4 or 5 different weapons probably negates, or at least dilutes the value of trying to just lock up one and traveling with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously Raheem Morris has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know, but I put Ramsey in the middle of the field, try to clog that up, and just roll the dice on the outside, make Brady push it outside. But that's just me. I mean, I don't know.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if I do remember this, though. Brady was pretty aggressive going after Ramsey in the first half of last year's game. If you remember, they got Ramsey on a couple of pass interference calls, if I remember, and it got under his skin a little bit. He settled in and I think resolved that. But I wouldn't be surprised, knowing Brady, if he goes back and makes sure that the Rams are where they want to be and Ramsey is in the right state of mind once again, whether that's throwing vertical to Godwin or Evans or Brown, if he's able to go, we shall see.
I'm curious because Coach Ra is now the defensive coordinator there with the Rams, and Brandon Staley has now decided he wants to be in the other head coach's office at SoFi Stadium. I'm curious, what are some of the differences that you've seen between a Raheem Morris run defense and a Brandon Staley run defense?
Not a lot yet, however. there's a stark difference between the quarterbacks and the offenses the Rams have faced through 2 games and the one that they're going to see on Sunday in Brady. And part of that is the quarterback. A lot of it is also the weapons at his disposal. But Carson Wentz, to me, thrives in and invites chaos. Like, that's his style. Like, the play doesn't really start until it breaks down. Brady surgically eliminates all of that chaos, right? And so it's difficult to, I think, draw too many conclusions based off of playing Andy Dalton and a little bit of Justin Fields and Carson Wentz through 2 weeks compared to what they're going to get structurally and in terms of efficiency and pre-snap identification and diagnosis and problem solving, because no one does that as well as Brady. It's a very short list of those who can even compare, and the quarterbacks the Rams have faced so far don't fall into that category. Raheem is obviously a big personality and has filled a lot of different roles, including head coaching roles across the NFL. He comes from more of a Tampa 2 system, which in many ways was perfected there in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium, whereas Brandon Staley comes more off the Vic Fangio tree. But I think there's a blend of those philosophies that will emerge. Staley, look, to be a first-time play caller in the National Football League and lead the league in fewest points allowed, that was really something. And he's got a knack for this. I think he's going to be a force to reckon with for many years to come in the National Football League. But Raheem may be just what Sean McVay needed at this juncture in his career. Sean is a very old 35, if that makes sense. He's an old football soul. And I think with the quarterback change and now 3 different defensive coordinators in 3 years when you include Wade Phillips, Raheem Morris is one of his best friends in football. He's a confidant. And I think having him in the facility has rejuvenated Sean in a way that Matthew Stafford has similarly.
Yeah, both of them being in Washington, it makes sense.
All right, last one for me, and this one's, doesn't really have anything to do with the matchup. This is just sort of something I want to know. The Rams treat draft capital different from any other team in the NFL. They like to put high day 1, day 2 draft capital into veterans to get them in. At one end, it's what you got. There's going to be no busts, but you don't have the 5th-year deal. You don't have rookie contracts. Explain how this is going to work long term. And just sort of like, are fans of LA, is this a thing with fans? Like, is it split 50-50? Like, everyone's yelling, even, you're winning, but are some fans like, eventually we need these, like, we need rookies? Like how does that whole thing sit and work? And it's very different from anyone else who's ever done it. So, like, how does everybody feel about it, I guess?
Yeah. This is probably a question for someone like Andrew Brandt or someone who's been in the front office and can explain the thought process behind trying to find and exploit a market inefficiency, right? Right. It starts with, I think, placing a big wager on yourself. And so that those first-round draft picks you're trading away aren't going to be top 5 picks. They're hopefully going to fall somewhere between 25 and 32 if things go your way. You also have to identify the right players that you're trading for. Like Jaylen Ramsey has to be a first-team All-Pro corner and play 15 to 17 games per year to really get the return on investment. You have to be able to extend him, which they were able to do. Matthew Stafford has to, I think, take the jump from great to elite as a quarterback. And so far, so good on that. But he needs 2 Pro Bowl caliber seasons, I think, to justify the outgoing capital. And then I think it also puts a lot of pressure on you to hit on your day 2 and day 3 picks. And they've done wonderfully in that regard. Is that sustainable? So far, so good. But I'm not here to say that it's going to work forever. But you take a look at someone like Jordan Fuller, and it's a poignant example because he too, like Brady, was drafted 199th overall and intercepted Brady twice. Those were a couple lollipops middle of the field. It wasn't a dazzling play necessarily by Fuller to get Brady. But nonetheless, I think it drives the point home where you have to find those Jordan Fullers on day 3 to make your roster work. And you also have to cut some corners. Position like inside linebacker, devalued in the modern game, right? Can you piece it together with someone like Kenny Young coming back on the Marcus Peters trade from Baltimore, Troy Reeder, undrafted free agent? You have to find, identify, and develop some players like that at positions that aren't prime positions in terms of draft capital or compensation to make it work from a salary cap. And then the last thought I'll leave you with, Ren, with that question is, this is LA. And there are 2 football teams. There are 2 major college football teams, the Lakers, the Dodgers, LeBron, like you name it. There is a relevance factor here where this city demands championships. It demands stars. And you can draft and home grow them, or you can say, who wants to come see Matthew Stafford play the Bucs at SoFi Stadium?
Right. I do.
I do as well. And I'll leave you with this one, JB. For the Rams to walk off the field 3-0, what needs to happen?
Well, it starts with disrupting Brady. And can you make him uncomfortable? Can you knock him off his platform? Can you force him to play off schedule a little bit? I think it has to do with creating better opportunities for the offense as well. I actually was just studying this morning. The Rams' shortest of their 6 touchdown drives so far this season has been 70 yards. Their average has been 76 and a half.
Wow.
And what got me thinking about that was the 2 pick sixes the Bucs had in the fourth quarter. Like, they're the top scoring team in the league, but how have they got those touchdowns? 2 defensive touchdowns certainly helps. Let me look back at the rest of the list. They also have touchdown drives of 50, 57, 35, 46, 18, and 43 yards. So can you get stops rather than, let me take a step back. The Rams have been getting stops and takeaways in their territory, in their red zone, and even on their own goal line, which has been preventative. It's been helpful. It's been, you don't give those back, but they need more 3 and outs, and they need more stops, and be able to flip field position, because I think this could get high scoring, and it's difficult to do that when you're going on 10 play marches from your own 10-yard line. And then lastly, the Rams' biggest bet on themselves this offseason was on their offensive line. They didn't touch it in free agency. They didn't make a trade. They didn't draft it. They said, let's bring our group back. Let's double down on it. And so far, they played some pretty good pass rushes, some great interior defensive linemen, including DeForest Buckner last week in Indianapolis. But I think because of my exposure to Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea going back to his Pac-12 days, I have maybe the biggest amount of respect, even a healthy dose of fear for what the Buccaneers present in terms of disruption. Can you keep Stafford clean? And can he manipulate the pocket to get to his second and third progression? I realize I gave you just about everything there in terms of what needs to happen.
No.
But it is one of
that was
those
really
things
good.
where the preponderance of those things has to go your way, because if these teams played a 5-game series, I think it'd be 3-2.
I like that. And hopefully we're getting a chance to play the Rams again later on this year, or maybe in the beginning.
No, they're too talented. I don't ever want to see them again.
Yeah, but
if there is a playoff rematch, Raymond James or SoFi, because I know Carolina's got off to a good start. New Orleans had an impressive win. But the NFC West right now looks like it's going to absolutely cannibalize itself. And I'm not sure how many wins it's going to take to get out of the West with the division and with home field, but there seem to be easier paths to a 1 seed, certainly, and home field advantage in other divisions in the NFC.
Yeah, the West obviously it's the best division in football, and you could win 10 games and be in third place.
Let's hope that's not the case. but we'll see what happens. JB, enjoy the call on Sunday with our buddy Maurice Jones-Drew. Definitely appreciate you coming on here this morning. Get back in the pool, man. We'll talk to you later.
Ren, Steve, good to see you both. Shout out to Rock Riley and Scott Smith and all my other friends and family in the Tampa Bay area. Miss you guys.
Heck yeah, JB. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
All right, take care.
Yeah, man. Thanks, JB.
JB Long, the voice of the Los Angeles Rams, with us as we adjust our cameras.
I'll get that figured out eventually.
One of these days. At least we got the ones with the guest. working well. You know what? There's a lot of. Did you hear a lot of betting on himself? That's what I heard a lot of.
I did too.
So, and I think it's good when you bet on yourself, but it's also good. It's also good when you can bet on your sports as well, like they do with BetUS.com. And life is back on sports bettors. BetUS has NFL betting. They're going to have NBA and NHL games when they get started up here in the next month or so. You can bet on UFC, PGA lines as well. And they've got it all set up for their 27th year of sports betting. And you can log on to BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US for a 125% sign-up bonus using the promo code PewterC125. So you sign up, you deposit $100, you get $225 worth of capital to play with. Customer service pros ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now, and you can play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Now, Ren and I did not get paid last week with our predictions.
I did in real life.
You did in real life.
I took Carolina.
Well, and that was after you learned that there was going to be some...
Yeah, everybody and their grandmother was injured or not going to be there because of COVID.
COVID issues with the New Orleans Saints. And when you're getting points... Did you get points?
Yeah.
And
I was getting 3.5 at home with Jameis Winston, no offensive coaches, no Lattimore, no Gardner Phillips, no who was the guy they took, Davenport, their interior other edge rusher who's been like getting expended the first 4 games because of PEDs. Of course, he wasn't there, and I think and Quan was out. And I was just like, what? Like, okay, like I'm getting points, and Jameis is gonna, every time Jameis has one of those games where it's like, oh, that's it, oh, Hall of Famer, he feels himself and he does Jameis thing, which is, does a pirouette and throw it in a triple coverage, and he thinks he becomes invincible. So, and that's what he did, and I covered by a lot. I covered by 27.
Yeah, you had a good time on that pick, but our picks on Friday did not go quite so well.
No.
Ren, you went 1-2. You did cover with Houston. You took Houston plus 13 and got the cover there, but your other 2 big point underdogs did not cover. Atlanta, of course, plus 12.5. That didn't happen, nor did the Lions getting 11.5.
It looked so good at halftime. I was up 3. I was up 3, and I'm like, all right, I got like 14. I got 2 touchdowns going into this, and then that field goal right before half was the last points that the Lions threw up.
Yeah, and I technically went 0-3, but in real life I went 0-4.
You did.
I did, and I look at it. I took the Jets plus 6. I didn't expect Zach Wilson to throw 4 interceptions.
Of course not.
I took Cincinnati on the money line, plus 110. I didn't expect Joe Burrow to throw interceptions on 3 consecutive pass attempts.
That's hard to do.
And then I took the Bucs and Falcons under 52 and Atlanta under 20, and I got screwed big time on those.
You did.
Yeah, I was.
Thanks,
I was
Mike Edwards.
You know what? I took both of those. Mostly because I knew that if I was wrong, I probably would be happy that the Bucs won.
A lot of people bet that way. Like, I bet against what I want to happen. That way, if what I want to happen doesn't, I make money. But if what I want to happen doesn't happen, I'm happy because it happened. Rewind that and figure that out.
Yeah, I didn't get that. You lost me in the middle.
I lost interest a long time ago. I quit listening.
You lost me in the middle of that. Sorry. I want to What was the most interesting thing that you got out of our conversation with JP Long?
There was a couple of things. One, and this was something I didn't think about till he mentioned it, and it was right at the end, was the O-line. How they'd put no capital into it whatsoever, and it was after, one thing you have to know. First off, JB was great. He was awesome. Like, I loved his answers; they were well thought out. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good, and kudos to you for knowing him and contacting him and bringing him in and all that stuff. I think Buck fans are really going to like this episode, but. He works for the Rams, is what I'm saying. So what he says is lots of things would be very glowing. Then it came to the offensive line, and he was genuinely worried about keeping Matthew Stafford upright against this defense. Now the pass rush isn't what fans hoped it would be these first two games, but the pressure has been ferocious. And so pressure kind of yields the same outcome throughout the game. It just doesn't end drives like sacks do. Like a sack on 2nd and 7 kind of ends the drive because now you're looking at 3rd and 17, and you're really not going to pick that up. You're going to, especially if it's early in the game, you're going to do something safe. You're going to try a draw or a screen. Or maybe try to hit the tight end over the middle and hope that he beats the safety, and then he's got to go 11 more yards to get the first down. So it's not going to happen. But pressure, which the Bucs have brought in bunches, and going against a team that probably I think JB would agree that it's the worst offensive line they've faced so far. I don't know, but the Falcons were really beat up. It'd be interesting to see what they do, because the Cowboys, who supposedly had the best offensive line, did a lot of max protection to keep Dak clean for pretty much all the night. The pressure was there, but he had time to get rid of the ball. Matt Ryan was under tremendous pressure and just did what Matt Ryan thinks a pro 13, 10, 12 years in the league type of guy, franchise quarterback does. He keeps you in the game and keeps fighting, and he did that. Stafford's the same way, so we'll see. But that was the biggest thing, was the only time, and not saying that anything that JB said was wrong at all, but the only time it wasn't like, the Rams are great, we have great players, we have a great quarterback, we have a great coaching staff, was the offensive line. And he seemed genuinely worried that that could be something that really turns this game.
Yeah, and you look at it, the offensive line has kept Matthew Stafford clean for the first two games. I think I looked it up. I think he's been hit just 7 times total
crazy.
In 2 games.
Which makes it even weirder. He's only been hit 7 times in 2 games. And, and JB's like, I don't know if we can keep him. I'm like, he's only been... Like his uniforms, he's wore the same uniform for 2 weeks and it still doesn't need to be washed.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I didn't get a chance because we really didn't have the time to talk about it. The wide receivers that the Rams have versus the Bucs defensive backfield. I really would have loved to have gotten a little more of what he thought. What Cooper Kupp did last week. Going 9 for 163 and 2 scores against Indianapolis, and how he thinks that could have related to this week.
Cooper Kupp's been a problem for the Bucs. The past couple of times they've played him.
Yeah, and also the role of Tyler Higbee is going to be this week, because he only had 1 catch, he only had 1 target total last week, and I have a feeling that that's going to be an interesting matchup, putting Tyler Higbee on a Devin White or a Levante David. I think that could be one of the big matchups for Sunday. So
this is going to be really fun, because you got 2 tier 1 coaching staffs playing at the top of their game. So is Sean McVay going to come in here and do that sort of thing that Dallas absolutely copied in week 1 and get it outside quick to your playmakers, and hopefully they can make the cornerback miss and pop one, or at least get 7 yards and like, which I really love what JB said, because something I've been preaching forever, when you asked about Sony Michel about falling forward and getting those 2 yards, because there's a huge difference between 2nd and 8 and 2nd and 6. Like, it's all about falling forward at those hidden yards, something that Leonard Fournette does not do, which is fine. Whatever. I'm not mad. I'm just saying. Knowing that Sean McVay coming up with the same game plan that worked pretty much because we got everybody back, the same defense, is he going to have something else? Because Todd Bowles obviously has to prep to combat or try to at least stop that outside quick passing game that Dallas did, that the Rams did. So knowing that, is McVay going to come up with another way to exploit his matchups and get down the field? And something that you could look at is the tight end against the linebackers in coverage. Now and Devin White's coverage thus far this year is way better than it was the beginning of last year, but it's not where it was at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So, that'll be something to watch. I'm really excited to see what these guys come up. This first quarter is going to be so interesting to me to watch, what McVay decides, like their game plan is coming in, and then what Bowles' game plan coming in, and then it's going to be about halftime adjustments. And that's just Rams versus Bucs defense, Ramos versus Bucs defense. Look, the Rams got one of the best defense in the league, sure. Brady's going to carve him up. He carves everybody up. The rules are too much in his favor. He has too many weapons with or without Brown. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's the way the NFL wants it, and that's it. Like, you're going to see more 42-45 games this year than you ever have.
It's true.
You just are. The receivers are too good. The quarterbacks are too good. There's a lot of young, good quarterbacks, and you can't touch them. You can't touch receivers, can't touch quarterbacks. So, that's what we're in for.
I saw someone ask in the comments on YouTube about with Brown on the COVID, what does that mean for Scotty Miller or Tyler Johnson? I don't think it means much, especially if he can get 2 negative tests here over the next couple of days.
And he has till probably he could probably get a negative
Saturday
test
at noon.
Is that it? Yeah.
I think he can go all the way until Saturday at noon. As long as he's got 2 negative tests by Saturday at noon, I think he can still play.
Yeah. So right now, and even if he doesn't go, I didn't even know. I didn't see Scotty on the field at all. Now I know he was on the field because watching the replay of the first Gronk touchdown, I saw him high five Gronk.
Yeah.
So I know he was on the field, but and then maybe OJ Howard plays a bigger role instead of. It's all going to be about matchups, and that's what makes this team so good. They're so multiple because they're so deep at every position where they can have guys that can beat the other team's players all in different ways. It all depends on what you want to do. Find the weakness and exploit it. Like, you're going to have a better player. Your skill positions against their defensive skill positions, there's going to be someone somewhere that's a tier 1 against a tier 3, and you can just exploit that all day.
Yeah, it's all about mismatches.
Yeah,
as you said. So I like the thought about it. We'll definitely get more into the breakdowns on Friday. On Friday's show, we'll also give you our predictions for the week.
I've already started looking.
So some and of course some picks. I like the three picks for Bet US. Even though I gave 4 last week and I was wrong on all of them.
Yeah. You're underwater, my friend.
Yeah, you're gonna have weeks like that. Even some of my friends some people, I know you didn't, but I have people that I know that are professional gamblers, and they have weeks like this. So I don't feel that I don't feel alone this time.
Sure. So. Okay. Getting out of the way early? Is that it? You're the Packers? We're just getting that ugly loss out of the way early.
Yeah. Nope. It's not. It has nothing to do with getting it out of the way early. It's every team throws up a stinker every once in a while. So hopefully that's my once in a while. And I'm not and I'm not, let's say, the Jets.
Ooh.
throwing up stinkers every week.
All right, well, we will see. I have faith in you.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, and Richard and Brian also put out a good point that in the last game between the Bucs and the Rams, there was no Vita Vea.
That's true.
And this week,
but I don't think it really would have mattered, honestly. Not that Vita Vea isn't a presence and his presence doesn't matter, but the way they attacked him, Vita couldn't have got to the quarterback fast enough, and they only ran the ball 6 times. So it would have been nice to have him, but I don't think it would have affected the game in any way because they absolutely never went through the middle of the field. Like, watch the Dallas game. Like, Vita Vea recorded no stat whatsoever. Now, he put a lot of pressure on. I get it. He did Vita Vea things. But I think the Rams even got the ball out quicker and even went shorter than Dallas ended up doing. So, and if they do that again, but anyway. The last thing I want to talk about is that Tampa 2 defense they're running and how JB said that they need more 3-and-outs. Mm-hmm. That was something that used to drive me insane watching the Derek Brooks, Warren Sapp, Hardy Nickerson, John Lynch, Rondé Barber Bucs. They never, ever, ever, ever went 3-and-out.
Yeah.
Like, if the other team got the ball, they were going to flip the field 100%. And the Buccaneers' offense was going to have to go 70-plus yards to be able to punch it in the end zone. Except for when a turnover would happen, like an interception or a fumble and a scoop, something like that. And it sounds that's kind of like what JB's watching with the Rams right now.
Yeah.
Where they'll bend but don't break. But the thing that stinks about not that type of defense is, there's just no 3-and-outs. So, it makes it very hard for an offense. Now, having Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford and those offensive weapons makes it a lot easier. Like, those guys, aren't the 1999 Buccaneers for sure. But I just when he said that and he's like, yeah, there's no 3-and-outs, and he talked about how, Raheem Morris is there and he's running the Tampa 2. And I just kind of nodded my head like inside, and I'm like, like I know, I feel you, brother.
Yeah, we know where this
that
is
for
going.
Years. Yeah. So anyway, I can't wait for this game. It's going to be a good game against really two of the best NFL teams with 2 of the best rosters with 2 of the best coaching staffs. Head coach, quarterback. Some people like to take that matchup. Bruce Arians versus McVay and Stafford versus Brady. I mean, that's close as it gets, man.
It is. It's going to be a blast, and we'll get a chance to talk more about it coming up on Friday as we get you ready for Bucs and Rams here on week 3, as somebody's going to go 3-0 here in this matchup, and somebody is going to leave SoFi Stadium with their first loss. But we got to get on out of here.
Yeah.
So Ren, give us the Ren addiction. Tell us where people can find you.
Best place to find me is on Twitter at the Pewtercast. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but if you feel like your take is too hot, you don't want to put it out there on the Twitter sphere, feel free to slide in my DMs, and I will talk Buccaneers football with you there as well.
And you can hit me up at Steve Carney. StPete9.com for your Rays coverage.
3.
And plenty more. There under the Orange Roof podcast this week has Shane Boz, his comments before his major league debut. So definitely check that out. Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very
Rays
exciting.
clinched yet?
Rays have not clinched. They can clinch a postseason berth tonight with a win and either a Red Sox or a Yankees loss.
Aren't they the only team in the American League with 90 wins?
They are not the only team in the American. They might be the only team in with 90. I thought that maybe the Astros were close, or maybe the White Sox were close. But they might still
deserve a beating.
They do, and they'll get theirs. They'll get theirs in the playoffs.
No, I mean like. Oh, you think so? You think they're going to get beamed in the playoffs?
I think it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Houston has 90 wins now.
God, I hate those guys so much.
Yeah. So, a win and a Red Sox or a Yankees loss means the Rays are in the playoffs tonight. So,
all right. All right.
We'll get those predictions for you on Friday.
Yes, be patient.
Yes, betting picks on Friday, and so we'll do that then. Thanks you to the Fansided Network for being a sponsor. Thank you to BetUS.com for being a sponsor, and subscribe to the Petercast wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever. Leave us ratings and reviews, and until next time, Ren, are you ready?
I am.
Then go buck yourself.